Hello and welcome to GM Tips. GM Rick here. I know I'm putting it on a little screen. I'll make my screen a little bigger so you guys can see me here since I'm not going to be talking all things on Fantasy Grounds, but I love having my Fantasy Grounds screen up since it's got a beautiful drider. So, got a little background music from Pandora off of the Fat Rat Radio, which he does Monody, which love that song, by the way. All right, so I haven't done GM tips in a while. So what is GM Rick going to talk about this week? Don't you love my background? I can't wait till I'm in Ohio and I can put up a background and do all these things because you guys will love it. And then I'll be doing my joint casts, hopefully. My hope, collaborative type of joint casts. So, so here's what we got. This week I'm going to be doing more, I would say, Dungeons and Dragons slash Pathfinder oriented top, let's say, top 7 adventure paths of all time. So these are things that are long term adventures that can be converted into campaigns. Basically, they are a campaign. They're a campaign in a book. 6 books in most cases, some cases a big hardbound one. So you guys have seen things like Curse of the Crimson Throne, and you guys have seen Rise of the Ruin Lords. Now those two are classics. I'm not going to necessarily talk about them. They stand on their own merit, as does the Emerald Dungeon, the Emerald Spire Dungeon. It stands on its own merit, really. So where am I going to go with this? Because you guys usually hear me talk Pathfinder and converting it to D&D 5. Well, I'm going to do a little bit of both today. I'm going to talk about 3-5 adventures that can be converted to 5, some 5 stuff, as well as Pathfinder. Now, what constitutes these, in my mind, as all-time hit adventures? Well, for me, it is ease of conversion, ease of making it into a home uh, brew. I hate to use the word home brew. Everybody loves that. It's like put it in a little percolator and watch it brew up and over. I will call them sandbox style adventures that you can turn into a sandbox area and easily use it for whatever campaigns you want to use it in. Now, mind you, I have looked at Kobold Press ones too. So, unfortunately, Kobold doesn't do enough of their own. They do a few adventures, and most of them are not what I call path campaign styles, though their setting stands on its own. And I love Midgard, Southlands, and the Northlands as well. I mean, they're just an amazing set of areas you can go into. So these are GM Rick's, or Rick M the GM, I don't know, whichever way you want to refer to me, picks. And one of my favorite ones of all time, and again, you'll see a little bit of glare on there, is the Shackled City. The Shackled City, to me, was one of the first major Paizo home run hits when it came to an adventure path that was designed for 3.5 but has been converted because of how amazing it is. It is based in the Isle of Dread type of areas, uh, specifically Chult. Does everybody know where Chult is? Ah, you do. Tomb of Horrors. And you know it 5 years, you know it well. Because Chult and their jungles are amazing. It's set in Faerun, though it's easily put also into Greyhawk. Because Greyhawk has its own area where they have the savage areas with the Isle of Dread. And they had their original Isle of Dread and expansion down into the jungles of Maztica. And boy, it's amazing what I remember, isn't it? I don't know. I laugh sometimes. My memory when it comes to gaming stuff is impeccable at points, where at other points it's just like, so. Why do I like it? For several reasons. I love the twist of the plot. The plot in Shackled City is like nothing you've seen before. It is very unique. It is very immersive. You have a city in the city of Cauldron that is set in what was an active volcano caldera. And this city is set there. And that city becomes the centering point for the whole campaign. I loved running it with my 3.5 folks. there was so much you could do, and it never destroyed the story. And it allows you, the GM, and your players to go off the rails whatever direction you want. That's the cool part, because they designed it such that you could adventure in the surrounding area. And it really gave you the ability to, if you want to follow the adventure, great. If you wanted to go sidetrack for a while, fine. There was events that would kind of bring you back, but it allowed a lot of diversity of what type of players you could play, what classes you could play, what races you could play, why they were there, what their story was, and how it all tied in. So for me, I love the fact that they gave you a book, and I still have the hardcover. I packed it away. It is literally as thick as Rise of the Ruin Lords and Curse of the Crimson Throne. It was that thick and piled full of NPCs, personalities, monsters, plot, side plots, other places in the area. They had a gazetteer in it. It was amazing. And for those of you that want to just take this and plop this into your own designed world, you can do this very easily. And you just switch some gods and goddesses out, but everything else makes sense. And you can do the history and plot it into your world as easy as having it into Faerun, Greyhawk, or if you want to bring it to Pathfinder, and there's a conversion on the Pathfinder groups that you just have to go out, and you're going to go out there and find it among the discussion groups and the message boards, and you can find the conversions. People have done the conversions for you. It's amazing, and PDF format, so you don't have to do all that. Number one all time for me is that one, and I'm working my way to newer number ones. This was my 3-5 number one, if I had a number one. Now, along with it, they did some other ones. So if you don't want to go to the shackled city first and you want to do the backstories, you have two of them: Savage Tide and, let's see if I can find this. Ah, there it is, Age of Worms. And so Savage Tide and Age of Worms are two others D&Ders you need to put on your list. And Pathfinders. We all remember them. They were amazing. They were in the Dungeon magazine, and often you can find reprints of them at Paizo's website where you can download the PDF. Amazing stuff. The Age of Worms takes you to the prequel for the whole Cauldron series. So it is the prequel, and it has a worm that walks. So there are some spoilers here, and I know I'm going to put this in my little thing that if you want to know this as players, don't watch this. The creatures they introduced and some of the material they used was cutting edge for what D&D was at the time. It still is. And I still think you can convert that to 5e, and I hope that Wizards does. But see, Paizo still has the rights on it. I hope the two can work it out to where that happens. Same with Crimson Tide. Crimson Tide is kind of a prequel of another city north of Cauldron. And it's a piratey, seven seas, go into the abyss type of adventure path that was amazing with lots of um, plots and twists. And they had the Vandaborans. Now, the Vandaborans, for any of you original D&Ders, know what that means because they were a eccentric family that has come through several adventures. So now you get to see their children come into play. And it was really cool. And I love that because for me, they had similar families that then bleed into the Cauldron series as well. So they made it really easy. My advice, I would start Savage Tides. I would then go to Age of Worms. From Age of Worms, I would go to Cauldron. And you can take 3 campaigns that way and 3 generations of your characters that way and really build an epic level lead into all of this. I love the pirate and the shipborne stuff. And you got to go to the Isle of Dread in Crimson Tide, plus into the Abyss. And they had a lot of play there. Then Age of Worms, you get into the jungles. and you get into going back and forth dealing with a worm that walks villain. Really cool, and the villains and the NPCs were well written, and it allowed you as a GM to insert your own and build around it really easy. And then you got the shackled city. So you have all of this, and the cities stay the same. They're all within the vicinity of each other, easily dropped into Greyhawk or into Faerun. So you really could easily do this. Now you can also bring this over into Pathfinder with the Inner Sea if you chose to. So there's a lot of neat things you can do with these three adventures, and they cross several systems from 3.5 to 4.0 to 5e, also to Pathfinder. Real easy to use. So again, 3 of my recommendations right there. Now, surprised you didn't I, folks? You didn't expect me to start with D&D because I'm such a Pathfinder nut. All right, so let's go to one every one of you folks knows. And this is my 4th one for doing things with, and you guys know that, it's Curse of Strahd. Most of you are playing it now. Beautiful adventure path. Now, you also should do the original Strahd series. Again, well written. It's a book that was done 203E, 3E type of era. Easy to convert. And it will take you through the 2 generations of Strahd's dealings in that world. I love it because it gets into the horror characters. Kind of like the Carrying Crown does for me out of Pathfinder. I love adventures that put in like a Frankenstein's monster. They put in werewolves, witches, other types of villains and villainesses that are the classics. And it really builds around that, and it traps them into a realm where they have to find their way past the curses. Now, my advice in this, you can build further on this campaign. Change Strahd up a little bit. Don't, every one of you guys loves to run them as is. Flavor them a little bit for your characters, especially if they've played it before. You want to reflavor and reskin some things. So go through and do some changes. Make some subtle changes. Maybe you put some right hands to Strahd, or some other generation things of Strahd, where maybe there's another vampire competing against him. Maybe there's other vampire lords and lordesses. Maybe there's a vampire council. Now we're getting into underworld flavoring. So you can do a lot with Strahd, and you don't have to just stay with the tried and true. All right. So now those are the D&D ones, but mind you, these are ones that you can take into, I think, a very fun area and bring these over from either play them in Pathfinder or bring them over to D&D. Skulls and Shackles is my number 5. I love Skulls and Shackles. It takes you to a region of the Inner Sea that is basically the Pirate Isles. And you're getting into that area. And you're dealing with a lot of different flavors. And I love that in this setting for Pathfinder and Paizo, they brought in so many cultures to be in the islands. So you could go out to the Shackle Islands, and the Shackle Islands are all the different pirates and outcasts from all the cultures around Galarian. And you have everyone there. You have Taldorans, Andorans. You have your polyglots, your Kaldaru, your Ulfin, your Tien, your Jamore, or Vudra. All these come into a mix. These are all the dregs of all these societies thrown into these islands. And you get to get thrown into the role of either being privateers or pirates as players. Again, Razor Coast does a great job of that, as does Freeport, another one that you can do. And you can integrate either one of those into the Shackle Isles and replace some key locations with, say, Freeport. And you want to put that in there. Or maybe you pick one of the other pirate ports out of Razor Coast and you can plug it in. The neat part about this is these isles can be put into any world. They're near the Eye of Abednego, which makes the most sense keeping it into the inner sea. That's the constant hurricane that goes on after Arodin dies, the Azlanti god of justice. After that, this hurricane comes in and is a constant threat north of these islands, but it also protects them from people coming in and breaking up the Free Captain Council. And so it's a really neat setting. You get to take your players through running a pirate ship. What does it mean? How do you retrofit it? How do you get things done? How do you board a ship? How do you deal with piracy as a whole? Do you want to be good about it? Do you want to be evil? Do you want to be in between? This path allows you to do all the above. And that's one of the reasons I love it so much. I've run it. It is so enjoyable. They have new golems in there that are unreal. You can either have black powder weapons or not. Up to you. Allows you either way. I love the black powder. Because let's face it, black powder weapons weren't very accurate in the real world. They aren't very accurate in this game either. But it gives you a little bit of craziness with it. So those are some things you can look at there. Now, let's look at other places and other adventure paths. So now I've taken you through that one. Where would I put at my number 3 position? I would say the Serpent's Skull. Again, takes place, sorry for the flat, that's the problem with having a screen. I have my window open and you can't really get to see it. Yes, you saw a red mantis assassin in there. So spoiler on that one. You are one of 5 different groups that is trying to get to Sergava, which is a colony of Chelish that were pre-Thrune diabolics that set up a colony south of the Mwangi Expanse. Sergava needs you to figure out what's going on. There are issues going on where you are chasing a serpent folk, or Yuan-Ti if you want to call them that in D&D. You are trying to stop them from bringing back their god and their era. Their goal is to regain the foothold they once had before Arodin came with the champions of the Azlanti and stopped their rise in those southern realms. And so you get to explore ancient ruins and deal with what happened and where is this dead god. You get to run into things from the Underdark. It is really freaking cool. And it is a great adventure path as you try to put an end to the dead god or the semi-dead god of the serpent folk and stop them from their machinations. And you can be one of many groups. You can be the Aspis Consortium. You can be the pirates from the Shackled Isles. You can be a Pathfinder. You can be a Red Mantis assassin or somebody else. It allows a lot of twists and plots, and it puts you in the jungle and an explorer. So you get the Indiana Jones vibe going on. Love it, love it, love it. All right. So where would I go next if I were to in the adventure path? Well, it's the upcoming one, and that is the Mummy's Mask, or based in Osirian. It is a neat campaign that deals with the ruined culture of the Osirians. They are the Garandi. Sorry. The Garandi are a mix of mocha-skinned humans that populate the southern inner sea. And so their prince is trying to recover artifacts to help his empire to regain its former glory, as well as it helps to, he said in some cases with the minor stuff, sells it off to other nations to help fund Osirian and its growth again. So you get to deal with basically Tomb Raiders is the best way to put it. It's a Tomb Raider vibe. And I'm not going to go into the details because my players are going to hopefully be playing it next, a version of it. Let's just say there's a lot to be said with what you're going to run into there. Think The Mummy 2, and the Scorpion King. Yes, lots of all the above. Really coolness. And so they bring it into a Pathfinder or D&D 5e or 4 realm where you can play it. So keep that in mind. And it's also really easily convertible to 3.5. Lots of things. If you take it into 3.5, I would recommend having Libris Mortis as a book. Even if you're in 5e, I would still recommend Libris Mortis. It's great stuff that allows you to easily convert this and then have extra fun with it. So there's your desert vibe going with some of the other stuff. All right. This one's gotten great renown. Strange Aeons. Why? It is H.P. Lovecraft thrown into a Pathfinder setting. I love the fact that Wes Schneider had a hand in this. No longer with Paizo, but by God, Wes did a tremendous job on this, helping out with it, as did many other writers. Christopher Fraser was involved with it, as were some others. This takes place after where the Carrying Crown leaves off. And you guys have heard me talk about the Carrying Crown and all the kind of strahdish craziness of it, as well as a lich. Well, now this takes you into Lovecraft. And there's lots of crazy stuff going on here. You get to play in the dream realms, as well as reality, and what happens when the two mesh together. Where does it go? What places does it take you? Well, you start off in one place, and you get to travel all kinds of realms. That was one of the keys with this one. You don't stay put. It's almost like my Baba Yaga one, with all the Baba Yaga stuff, and I am blanking on it. But we're playing it right now with my characters and players. So keep in mind, you get to hop around and go different places again. And if you like that, if you like not being stuck in one place and hopping around and easily converting it, this one with Lovecraft, you can take it so many ways. You do not have to play it out as is. You can make it your own, and you can bring some real nightmares. You can use the rules of sanity and fear and all these other things because it plays into this whole genre fact of it. So keep in mind, if you don't want to leave your D&D and you don't want to leave your Pathfinder to go play Call of Cthulhu, this will take you there without having to do that. So where's my number one? And this is a tough one. It is literally a tie between, where is it? The one I'm running right now, The Reign of Winter, with Baba Yaga. I love Reign of Winter. I do, because there's witches, winter witches, and just winter chaos. And a lot of jumping around to try to stop Baba Yaga's great-granddaughter, Elavana, from taking and turning the world into an ice cube. Fun with that. Well, my other one that sits there is the ruins of the Azlanti. Who are the Azlanti in Pathfinder? They are Atlantis, is the best way to put it. They are the first humans. Kind of like in Faerun, you remember? Humans came up under the serpent folk. And there were humans that had the flying cities. This is Pathfinder's version of them. So keep in mind, this is kind of a cool thing. So you could change the Azlanti to these flying city people, who basically, you can make it that this was one of their colonies. Well, what you're trying to do in this campaign is start a colony on the islands that were once the Azlanti Empire and the ruins and the storms. This is an Andoran expedition to set up a city there. And they had started a city on these islands and lost contact. So what's happened? Well, this one will take you into a lot of underwater adventure. So if you've ever wanted to run an underwater campaign with merfolk and Caecilia, and which are the squid people like Uma and Ursula, as well as many other things like aquatic elves and gillmen, and a lot of other creatures that are underwater based, like Shahagan, and what are the other ones that I'm trying to think of? They're the shark head humanoid body with the tentacles. Not Locatha, but I'll think of them pretty much soon here. But it has all these different things. It finds you these sunken cities that are below the continents of the inner sea. Well, you can convert this also to Greyhawk, or you can take it to Faerun, one of the seas where this is going on. And it's cool because these can be the islands and the lost cities that were destroyed during a cataclysmic event. In this case, it was the Aboleth, or the Veiled Masters, bringing an asteroid into the inner sea. In your world, you can make it another aboleth thing where the aboleths did something crazy during the time of your world to cause this ancient empire of humans to be destroyed. And now you're searching for and trying to stop a crazy creature that could be a veiled master, it could be an aboleth, it could be something else. Algathulu, maybe. Yeah. And there's a lot of knowledge on Aboleth and on Algthulu and or Algahulu. Hulu. Yeah, it's it's kind of the progenitors of the Aboleth and the Veiled Masters, and each is different, and you find that out, and you find out what these protean creatures really are. It gives you a real nice snapshot in. And that's one of the things I love. Instead of doing the Gazetteers, they spent a little more time on getting to know what these were, as well as other creatures. Really well written and well done. So these are my takes. There's a lot of other runner-ups, but if you want a campaign that you can just pop out of the box and tweak it to whatever direction you want to go, these are the different ones that I really put high marks on, because I either am looking forward to running them or have run them, and they've been amazing. All right, folks, thank you so much. Again, this is kind of a review. It's a snapshot. If you want more information on any of these, let me know. I've given some spoilers, but it's a lot of fun to find out what should I run next. All right, thank you so much for supporting me, folks. I plan to do so much more, and you're going to see a lot more with Fantasy Grounds, as you see in the background, and the new party. Join us. We've got Adrestia, who's now part of the mix. We have Keisha Roberts, the perennial Keisha. She does a great job in there. She's unfortunately you won't hear her voice wide because of her bandwidth, but she does a great job, and you'll see her typing in a lot. And so, Yumemi Star, hey, we got Yumemi in there with us, or Yumi, and she is super, super, super fun to have in our group. We have got our mad Ricardo, our mad Portuguese. So you must come see him. He's got a fun character that he's running in there that could be a lot of, like, maybe one of the monkey folks. And then you got my two all-timers, Mad Max and Painvin, the half-elf rogue. And finally, Josh as Damien, the lady and man killer, enchanted fae human sorcerer. So come view us if you can. I'm going to put them up into YouTube as well. And it's a lot of fun. I'm glad they joined in, and I hated losing my other three, but these four have made the transition really nice and are making a great contribution in the group, and I think you're going to love the mix now. All right, everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you again soon on GM Tips with GM Rick.